أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وخاتم النبيين وآل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أجل فرجهم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman Rahim. I wanted to welcome all of you for the session number 9 of our continuing discussion. Inshallah, the topic will be coming in front of you in a second. This is a topic which has been recommended one of the attendees, and definitely I really appreciate for all of you who have given me comments and suggestions, especially for different topics to be considered. So because we are having a program from IBAT, so I'll try to wrap up by 6 p.m. So whoever wants to attend that program, they can have a choice of attending it. Or if you want to leave it sooner, it's up to you. But I'll try to make it in time, inshallah, and we will finish before 6, inshallah. So let's get to the slides, and I hope everyone can see the slides. So it's session number 9, May 9th, and let's move on. The topic which I have selected today is relates with community relations. This is some of a topic which has been recommended, as I said, by one of the attendees and from the brother. I hope he is there today, and we can all enjoy and take benefit of each other, inshallah. So the verse which I have selected for that, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wa ta'anu alal birri wa taqwa wa la ta'awanu alal ismi wa la ta'awanu alal ismi wal udwan wattaqullaha innallaha shadidul iqab. This is Surah Al-Ma'idah, 5th chapter Holy Quran, verse number 2nd. And cooperate with one another in virtuous conduct and conscience, and do not cooperate with one another in sin and hostility, and fear God. God is severe in punishment. So this is a verse which is in Holy Quran, and it's been we have a lot of understanding of that verse, and it is a verse which promotes our relationship with each other. And these are the topics which we are inshallah going to talk about a little bit on this subject. So the next slide what I have is basically that slides which talks about rights and duties. And we always begin with our family, ourselves. So rights and duties, what it means is if I have a right over someone, then that would become a duty of another person. So this always works both ways. It cannot only be a right and a right without any other person who can have a duty for it. So we have to fulfill that requirement in a way that it is usually in pairs, or if you will, by two groups of people, if you will. So the first group can claim that they have a right over the other, and the other group would have to say that they have a duty to the first group. So this is a relationship which is being established, and it is also being supported by our religion as well. And these are some of the relationships which we already exist, and we pretty much aware of it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but just wanted to mention it, that this charity begins at home kind of objective, that we have to look up our own family first about the rights and duties, and then go outside of the family, because we are talking about the community. So the community starts from the family itself. So the first rights which are mentioned here obviously are the rights of the parents. The next comes the rights of the kids. Again, it's both ways. Parents have rights over kids, and kids have rights over parents as well. And we know what the details are, and I'm not going to mention the details up here, but if there is any specific question, we can discuss that later. There are rights over spouses. Both of them has one another, and then rights over brothers and sisters. And then there are extended families who are not like immediate family living into your household, but are related to you in a little bit of a broader sense. So these are some of the common rights and duties which is within the family itself. And But before we go any further, I just wanted to elaborate something, that there are basically two rights which we talked about. There is one portion of the right which is known as huququllah, meaning these are the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over us, meaning we are obligated to do those rights. There are wajibat, there are obviously mustahabat, and that's what we have to focus on. That's a whole complete detailed subject of that, and we should be aware of that. That relates with the ahkam, and we can talk about it in another session inshallah. But right now we are focusing on hukukul ibad. Hukukul ibad is rights of others, meaning anyone else besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who are our also like another creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you will. So why I'm using the word, I'm not saying human being, because there are also rights of other entities who are living as well. They have their rights, because the right of a tree would be another example of that, or animals have another example of that, or any other living being have some rights on each other. So that's how we kind of look at it, and we say hukukul ibad, but we right now we are focusing on other human beings at this time. So first of all, we started with our family, and then from the after covering the family, then we go out of the family and see what who else are having rights of each other. So this is some sort of a top level community members rights over each other. And those are, we can start with the teacher over a student, student over a teacher, right of neighbors. This is extremely important, and sometimes we don't really pay that much of attention to it. So when we say neighbor, it doesn't mean that the neighbor has to be with the same faith or with the same religion or follow the same language or something. No, neighbor is a neighbor. Any human being who is our neighbor and who is living close to us has some rights over us. Meaning there are riwayats of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which says that you have to be responsible for the neighbors. If make sure that they have at least some food to eat and they have no difficulties. If there are any problems of difficulty, you are the next person who they would be calling upon, and we have a responsibility on checking them out, seeing if they are doing okay, if they are fine. If we are doing social distancing at these days, obviously we can always pick up a phone, or we can wave our hand if they're coming up in the front yard or something. So there is always a method of communicating with the neighbors, and we should always try to do a good job. And that goes a long way. Not only we are obviously our neighbors knows us, our religion, so that would also prove us to be a good neighbor, being a good Muslim as well. So we should consider all that whenever we are dealing with the relationship with the other communities. And neighbor doesn't mean the next door neighbor, anyone lives on the same street or in the neighborhood, or how you deal with the people whom you are closer to them and you talk to them every day, or if you don't even, if you just see them at any time, whenever you have a chance of interaction. So always come forward to make some relationship and be a good neighbor, and that goes a long way. Relationship with the traders. So when we're trading, meaning let's say we go shopping, we go to a shop, we buy something, we sell something sometimes, and there is a rights and responsibilities. And definitely when we read on the ahkam of Sharia, the Sharia tells us about it. There is some rules which we have to follow about buying and selling. I mean if there is an interest, I have just recently completed a course on just the how to do business relationships and things about that. And inshallah, I'll be glad to talk about it if there is a interest of this topic, inshallah. So that's a lot to learn about ahkam on what is Shariat is expecting us to do. And the next one I have is employer and employee. That's something which most of us sometimes get involved in many ways. Either we are employer or we are an employee, and there are rights upon each other. It doesn't matter which religion we are following, but again, the point is that we have a responsibility. We have rights to make sure that we care about it. We fulfill our rights, like which we have heard many times, that if you employ someone, we need to pay them promptly. Don't delay their payment, and try to be responsive with them. Take care of them as an employer. So on the other side, employee has some certain rights that the employer has. I have hired us for certain job, and they're paying for it. So we should be honest with that. We should not take excessive breaks. The breaks are to be discussed and agreed upon with the employer, and don't do any personal stuff with the work which is supposed to be done by the employer at during that time. So we this is the way Islam has taught us to be a good employer and a good employee as well. So all relationships which is within a community, it definitely goes a long way. When there is an hour of need, when there is somebody in help, needing help in the community, like these days when we are going through the COVID-19 situation. So it is highly, highly recommended, and we are, alhamdulillah, doing it as our community itself and as a larger community to take care of the people who are in need. If someone is in need of grocery, if someone needs a medicine or something, and there are volunteers, alhamdulillah, in our community who are doing a great job, connecting funds, collecting, food, and any support if they will be needing, and they're offering their assistance in any way possible. So this is what is expected out of us being a Muslim to begin with in the first place. And this is open to all. It's not like limited to Muslims only. It is limited, it's to all human beings. Whoever needs help, we are there for them. And that is the way where we are being taught, and this is the way of our Holy Prophet ﷺ himself and our holy Imams themselves. They never have any discrimination, if you will, between helping out the people by basis of religion or caste or anything else. So we should be above all that, and that is the way of our Holy Prophet, inshallah. So if we follow that example, that would be a best, life we will be having with a good relationship with our neighborhood as well. So now with this comes up another very interesting point, which is also it's an obligation on us as a Shari responsibility, which says Amar bin Maruf wa Nahi anil Munkar. I'm sure everyone is very much aware of it, and that is a responsibility. This is a wajib upon us, which means enjoying what is right and forbidding what is wrong. So how does it relates with each other? So let's talk a little bit about it. So when we see another brother or sister, if they are, uh, if they can be prompted on something doing good in a sense. Let's say this is the month of Ramadan, and if you, one way or the other, first of all, we all start, let's say, reading Quran more than the normal time we spend before Ramadan or after Ramadan. So that's the one thing which we are very highly recommended. And if we have time, we go through the tafsir of Holy Quran as well and do the translation as well. So once we are doing it, it has also become our responsibility to try to tell it to others as well, to all our, brothers and sisters, family members, whoever we can contact them and try to promote that and tell them. Maybe this is just a reminder to ourselves first and to others as well at a later time. So that would go a long way, and someone might get encouraged with our request for that, meaning enjoying that asking them for doing something good, and they would be more than happy to do that, and that would be something which they can pass on to the next person, and it goes a long way. Just like COVID-19 situation we were talking about a minute ago, that if one person can get started with the volunteer system, and that goes a long way, and then next goes to the next, to the next, to the next, and the whole community get benefited of that. Secondly, on the second part of it, there's Nahi Anil Munkar, which is stopping them for doing the bad thing. Let's say if someone is found to be, breaking the traffic light all the time. So we can always politely discuss that and say if there is a problem and why we're doing it. Is it against the law? It or not only against the law, but it could be safety concern. It might be able possibly get an accident and the person get hurt. And there are different ways of doing it, but many a times I mean, that's a whole complete subject to Amar bin Maruf and Amar bin Maruf and Nahi anil Munkar, with a lot of discussion about it. And hopefully when we have a chance, we can have one special session only for Amar Maruf and Nahi anil Munkar. There are some do's and don'ts on Amar Maruf and Nahi anil Munkar. The way we have to do it, what is the right approach, how do we do that, don't feel the other person embarrassment. Don't feel that they have, you are more worthy than the other person. So things of that nature, we have to understand the self-respect of a human being. That is the most important part to begin with whenever we wanted to do something like this. So, and secondly, don't have to show that we are more knowledgeable than you. I mean, these things of proudness should be away from doing this. This is a very important act to be done. And sometimes when the whole society stop doing it, there are decline in the society. So that's the one of the main reason why Islam has put on wajib upon us. That is wajib upon us to do amar maruf and nahi munkar. But again, I must say that again, we have to be very careful in doing it the right way. There is a right way of doing it and there is a wrong way of doing it. If God forbid, if we're doing it a wrong way, that could take it into a complete different direction, and the person and the result which we were hoping to achieve, instead of achieving that result, that might go into a different direction. And that would be the worst case scenario. If the person was not doing something wrong, now he would do willfully something wrong, and that is going to be what you have never would have expected. So that is what we have to be very, very, very careful about it. So that's just wanted to point out here that this is one of a requirement. And why it is a requirement, that we wanted the whole society or the whole community to be better. All of us should be the way we wanted to have them. So now, just a key highlights of points we just wanted to put in here. Muslims are encouraged to support other Muslim brothers and sisters. That is what a Muslim brotherhood system, which would been supported and which have been educated. We have been, asked us to have one Muslim with other Muslim. If there is no relationship, they are always brother in faith and sister in faith. So this is a concept which our religion has given us. Let's say if a Muslim brother or sister comes into a different town, or move into a new town, so then the responsibility of the other Muslim brothers and sisters is something to go and offer their help, because they are new to the community. They might be needing help in different aspects, and we are there to help it out. And that happens to our community all the time. So I'm just referring to it, that this is one of the traits which we are supposed to practiced, and we are alhamdulillah practicing it. So because all Muslim brothers and sisters are related in that respect, not only in the same community, we are also related with other Muslim brothers who are other cities or other countries, even in other parts of the world. So this is the relationship which had been established by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala between us. So Islam has established a relationship between every Muslim, irrespective of their color, caste, origin, language, or heritage. So there is no exception to the rule. Everyone is a Muslim, is brother or sister in that respect. The next one is also very interesting. Sometimes we feel like that, okay, so the only Muslims has to be cared for and non-Muslims are to be left alone. No, Islam says something very, very important, and we need to understand that. And that's not my word. This is a word of Amir Mu'minin Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam. And he had written the letter over to Malik Ashtar when he was going for the becoming the governor. So he wrote a letter in which he mentioned that either a person is a brother in your faith or he is a fellow human being. So other people who are not a brother or sister in faith, they are human beings and they have a right upon us. So all the human beings in the world are fellow human beings, and they deserve our respect and better treatment. So this is where we should be very, very careful about. When we are dealing with other human beings, we have to be respectful. We have to take care of them as a human being and take care of their needs. So when we offer our assistance in any way, in any charity work or any volunteer work, there should not be any discrimination. And we just talked about it a few minutes ago, that our holy prophet and our Aima alayhi salatu wasalam had no difference of helping out the others in any way. If someone comes to their door and asks for something, they were very much open to help the needy. They don't even have any intention of even asking them for their religion. They just come over and say whoever is needy, they will have to be helped. And this is the way we are very much encouraged to go by, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help us in that respect. Now this is another verse which is extremely important, because it relates with again with the other human beings who are not in our religion. And this is a verse of Surah Inam. This is 108 number verse and chapter number 6, which calls it Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَلَا تُسُبُّوا الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ فَيُسُبُّوا اللَّهَ عُدُوًّا بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ. And offend not those who call to other than God, so they not offend God out of spite without knowledge. What it means basically is, if you try to, if we try to, comment on the gods of others, meaning, let's say, if there are idol worshippers, for example, and if we try to bad mouth the idol worship, because this is their god, and we believe that is not the real god, because we believe and we practice Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they are not the real god, and we know that. But if we do disrespect to them, if we show them disrespect to their gods, the what ultimate would be, that person who would be worshipping that god would in return try to disrespect our god. And if our God is disrespected, then that would be us who have caused it. That is the meaning of this verse up here, that we should not ever try to disrespect other gods, meaning the gods of the other religions, and try to avoid that situation where the person encounter come up and try to disrespect our god, and that is should be avoided in all cost. And in relationship with this verse of Holy Quran, our Maraje Karam has just a few years ago had also issued fatwas which talks about not to disrespect any other respected individuals in any sects of Islam. Sometimes people go out of the way in order to disrespect individuals which has a history in Islam, and we feel like that we are doing it for getting closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that's not true. That is not true. This is from this verse of the details of this verse tells us that we should not be doing that. The disrespecting portion of that will in return, that person who's believer on them, they will disrespect our holy personalities, and we should try to avoid it. So that's the reason why fatwas are given about it, and we should be very much cognizant of the fact that whenever we are dealing with inter-community situations where we have people of maybe of different sects, for example, they are Muslims but different sects of Muslims, or we are dealing with the people who have a different religion. And the people who have a different religion, they might sometimes also have a concern that if we are not dealing their respected personalities in a respectful manner, so we are very much have to be in the fact that we have to be, encourage them, encourage us, our community members, and teach us each other that this disrespect portion of that should not be happening. We should be doing something which should not be disrespect in any way. So we are encouraged to make dua for others before asking anything for ourselves. So that's a very important and interesting point which has been listed here. When we were discussing the adab dua, meaning the way we should be asking from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anything, so this is one part of the adab dua as we go along, that when we started a dua, the first thing we should be asking for, again, with covering up the area which we have talked about before, asking forgiveness and thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all his blessings. Then we get to the point when we have to ask something from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So before asking anything for ourselves, we are highly encouraged to ask for dua for others, meaning others what? Others mean our family members, our brothers and sisters, even our neighbors, our people in our community. So we should not forget anyone. We should always ask forgiveness for them and asking for acceptance of the hajat for them. Once that is being completely done, then comes to the point then we should ask something for ourselves. So this is extremely important for us to make sure that we cover that. And many a times we forget that. And many a times even, this is sometimes it happens, and we should be really aware of that, that when we are asking hajats for others, we are forgetting other fellow human beings. I mean, let's say if a person is sick with COVID-19, we are not going to ask them what religion are you before helping them out. No. I mean, ask any one of the doctors or the people who are related with the health professional. Do they ask religion each time? No, they don't. And so similarly, we are also encouraged to pray for their safety, for their hajat to be fulfilled to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when they are in difficulty, maybe in sickness or so, we should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help them out, to have blessings upon them, to remove their sickness and give them shifa. So this is, I mean, this is one example. And there may be many, many more examples of how to, help out the needy, especially in asking something from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the hajat for them, to help them out in a sense that without thinking about their religion. Obviously, religion plays a very vital role in our lives, but again, we should always think about these lines above and above from the religion, meaning another human being. And this is how we should be treating each other. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who gives blessings to everyone, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is providing it for the other human beings as well who are non-Muslims. He is the one who is giving his rahmah to all of them. And don't forget that our holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent out as rahmatul alameen, meaning he was the rahmah for the whole universe, for every living being in this universe or even non-living beings in this universe. He was the rahmah for all of them. And this is his sunnah, if you will, that we should be cognizant of the fact that every human being should get the best out of us. So when we are asking for dua or our hajat and we are supporting someone else, we should not make any distinction between us saying that this person is Muslim or non-Muslim, and that is the way to go long way. So in case if there is any doubt, any our young generation especially, sometimes they think that we are not kind of a open people in that respect, that we don't care about non-Muslims. That is not the fact. That is not what Islam has suggested. If someone is doing it on their own, that is what they are doing it on their own, but it's not suggested by Islam. So we have to be opened up on that. We need to take care of all people as a human being, and that is the way we are being told and been educated, and this is the teachings of our religion, alhamdulillah. So if the next point is also very interesting, and we talk about it all the time. It is one of our desire, of our dua, of our hajat, and we have been praying all along in all our life that we wanted to join our Imam Hujjat Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Faraju Sharif, and we wanted to join him together as a community, as a group of supporters, not like individual, not like only one and in the family or one in the household, or and it's like, okay, it's only a limited number of seats, and if a few people will take and the rest will not be given the chance. No, that's not the way it's supposed to think about it. We all should think as a group, as a collective. So if we are trying our best to join Imam Hujjat Ajjallahu Faraj Sharif after reappearance, we need to take care of each other. We need to watch out for each other. We need to say that, okay, if someone is not preparing for that, we need to tell them that, okay, it's getting ready now, let's get prepared. And if they need help, if there is any help needed, let's say there is a help needed in understanding some AQAID question, so if we know the answer, we should offer them our support for that. And in any other way, I mean, it could be various different ways we can offer our assistance and help, meaning not only the practicing our religion, not only clearing up our aqaid, not only financially helping each other or supporting each other. We should be getting ready for supporting our Imam Hujjah Ajjallahu Ta'ala Faraju Sharif. So we would be proud of each other when we join him as a group. So if we know each other, we should all be going to join him, inshallah, and we should not left out anyone. So this is one of the objective we should be thinking about it, because inshallah, Imam Hujjah will need a lot of supporters. He would be expecting a lot of us who claim that we love him, and we who claim that we wanted to be his supporters. So when we given a chance, inshallah, we not only going to take that opportunity individually, but we would like to have this collective opportunity as a group, and we would like to join together. So if there is anyone who needs help in support, we should offer our assistance and help, and having as a community joining that. And inshallah, if I'm alive or not, but I am seeing that point when inshallah in future, whenever the time comes for Imam's reappearance, a group of people from AQAID inshallah will be ready to join Imam Hujjat Ajjallah Ta'ala Faraj Sharif. And that would happen inshallah, because we are there as one big extended family. And I'm very proud of that, to say that this AQAID group is a one proud happy family together, and we all take care of each other. We all looking forward to each other, and this is the time inshallah will happen, if it happens in our lifetime or in our children's lifetime. So we all should be ready for that and should be very excited for that. So last point I have here is another example about the humanity relationship would be, in case of a solution of a vaccine is developed for COVID-19, hopefully it will happen inshallah soon. So this effort is being not only being done only in USA, this effort is being done in many different countries. There are a lot of scientists who are working on this solution for this vaccine, and hopefully inshallah this will happen and this will come forward. But while they are developing this vaccine, they are constantly with contacting each other, taking advantage of their research, taking advantage of their knowledge. And maybe they are working on one area and the other one is working in another area, and then they are sharing notes with each other in order to come up a quick solution for the whole humanity. So if one group of people will develop this vaccine, inshallah, the whole humanity would get benefit of that. It's not like that this is my vaccine and I'm going to keep it safe and key and I'm not going to share it with any other human being. That's not the way we expect human beings to behave. We will inshallah, hopefully, when they will happen to have a solution for with the vaccine against this disease which has completely ruined the whole humanity and changed the whole history at this time, because everyone is in difficulty and in situations which have beyond our even imagination. So hopefully inshallah this vaccine will be developed, and with the effort of the whole humanity with each other, without any discrimination, this vaccine will be shared with each other, and all humanity can get relief out of that inshallah. And we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that give us the strength to support each other and keep on continuing his blessings upon all of us. And inshallah, we will be a better Muslim and a better brother and sister with each other as we go along, and we will try to help each other as supportive as we would be. So before that we get to the end, I would request you to, if you have any questions related to today's discussion, either you send me a chat message or you can, ask that question and I'll try to respond to that. Anyone, any questions? Qasim, how are you doing?
Assalamu alaikum, brother. I have a question.
Yes, please.
My question is actually, it relates to a conflict as far as community relations are concerned, and some of the practices that we have, especially regarding tabarra. And our leaders have told us that we cannot say bad things about Khulafa Rashidin, but some of us do that as try to prove their tashakhus, that their Shia, they feel their Shia is not complete if they don't do tabarra. And tabarra does, whenever we do call bad names, we are unable to promote the love of Ahl Bayt to others. So that becomes a problem. It's a community relation problem. It's also a problem for taballa, how to promote the good things. Yeah, as you said, Amar bil Maruf. So I see a problem there, and would you please expand on this thing if you could?
Okay, thank you, brother, for asking that question. Well, I would answer that question in a way that I would feel that we have been encouraged to always follow our holy prophet and our Aima alayhi salatu wasalam. So the sunnah of our holy prophet and our Aima alayhi salatu wasalam. Uh, Brother, if you don't mind, can you mute your mic? There is some sounds coming in, maybe disturbing. Thank you, brother. So there would be, so the best approach would be to follow the sunnah of our holy prophet and our holy masumeen. So we have to analyze their lives, and as we were just talking a few minutes earlier, we were talking about that in the during the time of holy prophet and this verse of holy Quran which came up, and this is a very good example of the verse from holy Quran which says that do not say bad words to the other gods, otherwise they will say bad words to your gods, and that is if that happens then you are responsible for it. I mean, these are very harsh word and very strict word in the holy Quran, that if you initiate something and something happens in return in retaliation, then we are responsible for it. So this is how I would take up that question in that respect, that people who are maybe they are not very well informed, maybe they are doing it thinking they are doing it out of love of Ahlul Bayt. But again, if we claim that we love Ahlul Bayt, it is our prime responsibility to follow the sunnah of our Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam. And we know that Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam has never ever shown these type of attitudes. Even if you remember, there is an example which has been narrated many times, that our fourth Imam, Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam, at a time when this was after Karbala, that a person came up with his family and he was being chased by his enemies, and he wanted to have some asylum, some safe place. Imam Zainul Abidin gave him asylum. His family has stayed with the family of Imam Zainul Abidin, and when the day when he was departing, he came to Imam Zainul Abidin. He said, well, thank you for letting me stay with you in safety. I hope you don't, maybe you don't remember me, that's why you gave me that much of respect and courtesy as a guest. And Imam Zainul Abidin replied that how come I forget this face of a person who murdered my brother. So that means he knew very well that this person was the murderer of Hazrat Ali Akbar. But the way he dealt with him, he dealt with the whole family respectfully as a guest. So that doesn't mean that we should be going out of their way disrespecting the people whom we know that they have done atrocities. Leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best judge, and he is the one who is going to execute the judgment as well. So we are nowhere, we are not even close to foot of our holy masumeen. We are just there to follow them, their footsteps. So in case if we claim that we love our Ahlul Bayt, the best way to show our love is to follow the sunnah of our Ahlul Bayt. And I just gave you, example about that. And there are many other examples which we can talk about. So first of all, the concept of tabarra doesn't mean that we have to say bad words. Tabarra means to take, even the lans means to take away the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from that particular person, and that person is not bad, their act was bad. So that is how we have to deal with it. So think about it, that how our holy masumeens have done it in their lives, and that is the right way of approaching it. And secondly, when our Maraje Karam has given fatwa about it, very clear fatwa, that we are not supposed to have any bad mouthing, anything, even with the case of tabarra and saying bad words against anyone who was the enemy of Ahlul Bayt. Don't use those words. That is what we have been told. Because if they are started bad mouthing again in return, based on the verse which we have quoted earlier, that would come against our holy personalities. And if we love them, we should try to respect them. We should try to protect them. We should show our love and affection in that way. And I'm not going to blame anyone, but sometimes the brothers and sisters who are doing things like that, they may be ignorant, maybe they are doing out of ignorance. So it is our job to teach them in a polite manner in doing amar maruf and nahi munkar in a way which we're supposed to be doing. And there is a whole details of how to do amar maruf and nahi munkar. Inshallah, in any future session we will talk about it in greater detail about that. So that probably would be the answer of your question, that if you find somebody doing that, then we should politely, approach them, try to, help them out that why they are doing it in a way. If we can engage in a conversation, if we cannot engage in a conversation, it's better not to confront them, because otherwise they will take side and it will become a matter of pride, and it is become a matter of ego. And that would, instead of diffusing the situation, it might elevate the situation. So we have to be cognizant of the fact whenever we are trying to do amar maruf and nahi munkar in that respect. So I hope I try to answer your question. Any other questions, please? Okay, so if there are no more questions, I will try to, finish the discussion today quite early, so everyone has a time to catch into the, joining in the program for IBAD, inshallah. And inshallah, next week I'll send out the topics, and to begin with, to the topic for the next week, inshallah, I'll send it out, and we'll go from there. And if there are any comments and questions, please feel free to send me a comment on the chat window, and then we can go. Okay, one second. There is a question I wanted to answer that. Are we permitted to recite Surah Fatiha or other prayers for deceased non-Muslims? Okay, so that has been answered by fuqaha of our religion, that Surah Fatiha is something which is highly recommended to be offered for our deceased, and it is not recommended to be offered for our, non-Muslims. The only thing we can do is request Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ask forgiveness of their sins. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best what is in their heart, because there are two things. It's a detailed answer actually. I don't want to go into that discussion. There are two things usually happens is there is a faith which a person practiced, I believe, and practiced. And if the person is openly a Muslim, even though if they have not been a practicing Muslim, they still have a right to, get buried a Muslim way. They have a right to, be treated as a Muslim in all respect. It doesn't matter if they don't practice Islam, but if their faith is Muslim, they expect, they are expecting everything, because we don't know what is their, if they have openly have said their belief has to be taken as upfront. But the person who has never been a Muslim and who has not accepted Islam when it was presented to them in that respect, we can always ask for their forgiveness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it is not recommended to offer Surah Al-Fatiha for them. So hopefully that answered the question. So with that, if there are no more questions, inshallah, we'll read the dua, inshallah, and end the discussion today. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma kulli waliyika al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan, salatuka alayhi wa la bazi isa wa fi kulli sa waliyun hafizan wa qaid. Continue, please, Qasim.
وكاد من عاصمة الليل معين حتى تسكنه أزكاته وتمته فيه إلى برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين
اللهم صل على
اللهم صل على
محمد
محمد
وآل
وعلى محمد.
محمد أجل فرجهم. Thank you, brother. Thank you for assisting
Thank
me.
you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Inshallah, we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
brother Hasnain.
Thank you very much. Subhanallah.
Thank you, brother Hasnain.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Barakatuh.